Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video we will be talking about, as you can tell by the title, a concerning pattern. And I want to make something very clear. There have been a few comments in the previous videos when I made a video about this pattern that have been saying that, again, I'm an alarmist, this is over exaggerated, this isn't unusual, this is not historic. And I'm not trying to create panic, right? This is definitely something that we've seen before. It's just that it's compiling on top of a year that has seen many types of these heat waves across very similar locations, on top of a very lack of precipitation. Many of these locations pretty much are in drought already. So that's why it's concerning. By itself, this pattern, if it was just over say an average year was occurring up until this point and we saw this heat wave, definitely hot, nothing too unusual. But at this point, it's just getting to a point where it's pretty bad. If you've heard, the Dixie Fire in California is now the third biggest. Thankfully, the areas in California could be seeing some relief. So again, there is some silver lining to this. I'm not trying to create this impression that this is all going down and there's no way out of this, right? We're going to get through this. We've gotten through much worse. It's just it's a concerning weather pattern, right? And there's often concerning weather patterns, except this one is just a bit more extreme than what we've seen in the years prior. Again, not because of one singular pattern, but because of what has been going on this whole entire year, and you have to be up to date with this in order to realize the severity of this. Before we get into this video, I do want to quickly say that if you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below. I answer pretty much all the comments, or I heart them or whatever. I leave some sort of feedback, and I want to hear your feedback. And if you do like this channel, you're not yet subscribed, consider doing that. Obviously, no one's forcing you to. And if you do like this video, consider giving a thumbs up. Obviously, once you've watched it, don't give it a thumbs up for no reason. Okay, let's take a look at the GFS pattern, and let me show you why I think this is such a concerning pattern. First off, let's take a look at hour 384. You may be wondering, why the heck am I this far out already? Notice there could be a bit of tropical activity. That's a side note. I won't be really covering that, but the tropics are getting pretty active. I'm sure folks that are into that do know there are a few depressions, few areas of watch across the Atlantic Ocean. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So yeah, a lot of things to juggle, but total accumulated precip. Let's take a look at this. Notice the east, the southeast, it's wet. It's not bad. If you live across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, it's not really a concerning pattern whatsoever for you folks. I mean, I'm part of, that area. We're seeing rain once in a while. Temperatures are tolerable. So you may be wondering, what on earth is this video talking about? The United States is big. Just because one area is seeing rain and cool temperatures doesn't mean that the whole country is in a similar boat. I mean, heck, sometimes it's different across several counties, let alone a whole vast United States. This is a little side note here. I was traveling again on that road trip with my brother a few weeks ago, and it's just insane. You keep driving, and it's just endless. You change terrains from, marshlands to hillies to just flat plains to deserts, and you're still part of the same country. It's just a massive country, which, yeah, probably everybody knows. Really, I really noticed when we were on that road trip. It took me long enough. All right, let's take a look at this. So notice that the northwest, right, southwestern Canada, it's going to be pretty dry. That's the part. Notice some locations getting absolutely nothing in the next 384 hours. And while, yes, this is just one model run, I'll show you the previous model runs. Notice it's favoring the east, the southeast, where they don't really need the rain. Notice here, it's also pretty dry, and you'll be seeing 100 degrees, 90 degrees, which isn't unusual. So this area, it's going to be getting dry and potentially into drought, which definitely isn't good. But the northwest, they are already in a very big drought. They are going to be seeing definitely the worst of the temperature anomalies. And look, the rain that falls, the next 10 days, even if you get in that purple color, 2 inches, that's not enough to ward off what's already been done and potentially what's going to come. So that's already the first part of the concern. A dry pattern compiling on top of a very warm pattern. Let's take a glance at what the GFS model shows. 2-meter temperature anomalies. Right now, not all too bad. Many areas that are seeing warmth, cool air, it's nothing too bad. But as we push this forward, we quickly see the heat starts dominating. We do see a few pockets of cool air, and that's good. Kind of the calm before the storm. Enjoy that. But notice, look, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the heat is definitely way more dominant. It's more like orange colors with a few blue dots. It's not blue with a few orange dots, right? So we're in definitely a more warm pattern versus a cool pattern. And look, as he pushes forward, look at that heat. That's almost across the entire country. And yes, you could see a little wave of cool air does wiggle in from the north. And this is, again, anomaly. So it's from average, these temperatures. If you're seeing in Ohio, you're seeing a temperature of 75, you'll be seeing with 6 degrees above average, 75 plus 6, 81. And look at those right there. Oregon, Washington, that's not good. Those are very strong. If you're seeing 80s and you have 20 degrees above average, you're now seeing 100. Look at that right there. Those fiery reds. Not often do you see something so colorful and so extreme, right? So this is already this next Saturday. Today is Saturday, so in about a week from now, and the models have been consistent with this. But notice the Midwest relatively chilly, right? The Northeast. You may be wondering if you're living in Toronto, if you're in Montreal, if you're in Chicago, Minnesota, Minneapolis. Where is this concerning pattern? Again, it's all out to the west. So fortunately for you, unfortunately for your friends and family that potentially live out to the northwest, or you will get impacted by this if, for example, crop failure does occur. And there's a lot of food grown in the Northwest, especially the Southwest in the California, San Joaquin Valley. All right, so notice, look at that anomaly right there. That's pretty much, that's bordering almost off the charts, not quite yet, but yeah, definitely a strong anomaly, and it's a recurrence there. Notice, even if a few temperatures that are a bit below average do wiggle in, it's persistent. And if you were to put this out towards hour 300, you could see another heat wave developing, maybe a bit further away from the coast, which is good. They get a break, but this time it's across the northern plains. So several areas of this extreme heat. And again, the details are still yet to be sorted out, but the heat just gets so extreme so quickly, and it's rather transient. So a lot of these areas move out. You can see North Dakota is in an extreme anomaly, and then 2 days later, it's almost below average. But that's kind of the saving grace, because those anomalies are excruciating. And I mean, let's take a glance at that. The 2 meter temperature shaded. Look at that. I mean, that's very hot. Hopefully, we don't see 115, 111, and we don't need to see 100 plus in order to make this pattern a concerning one, because of already how bad it's already getting across portions right there. With no rain and temperatures in the 90s, that's already bad enough, let alone in the hundreds. So notice, again, it won't be a consistent 100 degree or 90 degrees, all right, for the Northwest, but there will be several time periods where it gets very, very bad. Look at that. Right there, 90s all the way into Alberta, Saskatchewan. This may not look hot, but this literally there will be locations in Texas that are cooler than portions across southern central Canada. That is very, very hot right there. If the same anomalies up here were occurring across the south, you would be in the 120s, potentially the 130s. Yeah, it's extreme, okay? And notice that the Southwest right there, California, they are dry. They aren't seeing much rain. Hopefully they do. The Climate Prediction Center thinks they could be getting a bit of a wetter pattern. And look, they're seeing extreme heat, and this is where I think 18% of the food's nation comes from. That's a huge area. Fertile soils. I was watching a documentary about it yesterday. How it's just they've been stuck in this drought for almost 20 years now. And it's been, cycles of worse time periods like this year, 2013, 2014, a bit better, like 2017, when the Oroville Dam almost overflowed. There was a lot of water, right? That's not also good. And, it's definitely a concern, and it leaves questions. What's next? Is this going to be sustainable? Is the desert going to continue desertifying, or is there going to be some sort of a return? It's definitely interesting. And look at that. I mean, those temperatures will be in the 120s. It's like a dry, it's like a hair blower right there. I mean, no, it's like a heater. It's like a fireplace is just turned on in there. The valley traps the heat, and it's like a mini. It's like the mega death valley. The mini death valley is further right here. Okay, but notice hundreds right there. That is extreme, right? And again, the temperatures are very bad. The precip is going to be extremely limited. Thankfully, look at that. It doesn't last forever. We do see some relief, 70s up there, but the heat turns down towards the plains. So, yeah, it's concerning. Is this the end of the world? Is this a pattern that's going to cause mankind to go extinct? No. Okay, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, and I'm not trying to spread that message. Okay, and let's take a look at, for example, the anomaly or the ensembles. So I was just showing you one model, but folks maybe looking at that and being like, oh, you cherry picked that model, that's just one model. Well, okay, let's take a look at some ensembles, right? Notice right there, the east, the north, pretty warm. Right now, the northwest is cool, or there could be pockets of it being cool, especially into this weekend and early next week. But look what happens. Again, this is like 30 models washed out, right, or on top of each other, kind of like a compilation. And look at the anomalies they show, 6 to 8 degrees above average. That is a very strong anomaly for so many models, relatively far out. As he pushes forward, notice there are going to be a few cool downs, thankfully, for the Midwest Great Lakes. They don't really need it there the most. Further west would be nice, but look what happens right there. That is very, very hot for how far out that is and how many models that is. That's a strong indication It pushes forward, it continues. It does weaken, but it spreads and it's further out, so the models are obviously a bit less confident. But the fact that it's still just mainly above average for the north, northwest, the west, where they need the cool temperatures the most, is concerning. Now, notice there are quite a few blue colors, and that's because it will be cooler across the south, potentially the southeast, where they don't really, that's been kind of the pattern this summer. The South, Texas, for example, has been seeing relatively chilly temperatures. The southeast, nothing too extraordinary. And the 8 to 14 outlook very well represents that. Notice this is through the 15 through the 21. Where do we see the heat? A bit across the northeast, the east, and mainly across the northwest and north, where the drought is the worst. Now, there is a bit cool right there, and they are in a drought, so that's good news. That could weaken some of the droughts across the southwest. But look, below average precip, where the heat is the worst. That's something you don't want to see. Look at that, 6 to 10 day outlooks, less further out, so the colors are deeper because they have, well, more confidence. Where is it blue? Across the southwest, the south, where, again, that's been kind of the trend this year. And notice there is also above average precip there, so hopefully that those weaken the drought. But yeah, again, where it's dry, it's the hottest, so it's definitely not the best of news. Let's take a glance now at the European model, a very, very good model, and let's see its temperature anomalies. Notice it does show a bit more of those kind of widespread heat indications, not as much blue colors, especially during the nighttime hours. But there are still a few cool waves, again, following some big storm systems that I made a video about yesterday. But look what happens across the northwest. Obviously, these anomalies are still, impressive, 7, 8 degrees, but these are just, these catch your eyes right off the bat. 30 potentially above average for Portland, Oregon to Washington. And look, that just sits there for a while, and it does maybe not affect the northern plains as much as the GFS does through hour 240. But I'm guaranteeing if the European went out further than this, it would start showing this shifting to the south into the plains, which would not make this stuff worse, or would not make stuff better. And 2-meter temperatures, these are the actual thermostat readings. Notice, Montana, yes, they do get hot temperatures, and 90s aren't too bad. And again, there will be a brief period of cool weather. Notice it's going to be warmer across the plains. And again, that's what I said in my previous concerning video, that the first wave is going to be more across the plains and the central U.S. before the northwest gets the brunt of it. But look at that right there. I mean, that's Portland, 98, right? Seattle, 82, not that bad. Most of Montana, 90s, almost hundreds. And it does continue to get worse. Look at that. 107, 106. Portland, 105, 106. Very, very bad news. A lot of folks don't have air conditioning up there. I can't even imagine living up there with no AC. Or, sorry, with those temperatures with AC. Normally, they don't need it because, well, they don't. It's not that warm on most summers. And, yeah, this is why it's a concerning pattern. Look at that, 100 right there, 90s, 106. Definitely warm across the plains, but that's more average, right? Montana will be warmer than all of Kansas, which... It's a bit unusual. The GFS model that I showed you went out to 384 hours, while the European only goes out to 240. So we can't see the true extent of this, but do notice that where it does show the heat, it's across very similar areas that the GFS showed it. Notice again, eastern Washington it's going to be smoked. I mean, almost every single day, hundreds. Montana, right, 90s, 95. That's not maybe too bad. There will be a few hundreds, which is very bad. There's gonna be, again, very little precip across these locations. Take a glance at this. Let's move this forward. Notice a few areas in Montana may get a little bit, which is good. Again, not really enough to make up for any sort of the heat that they'll be dealing with. Most of the rain is where really the drought isn't really bad at all. There is a few areas of drought across the inland portions of the northeast, so that's good. They will pretty much ward most of that off. But notice the southeast dealing with some rain. Again, maybe not enough. There could be some abnormally dry conditions. The plains could be developing drought here. Again, is this enough to deal with the hot conditions across the southwest? Hopefully. It might prevent the drought from getting worse, but not necessarily make it much better. And here, almost definitely will get worse. I mean, look at that. Oregon, Nevada, 0, 0, 0. You have to go into extreme northern Montana to get even an inch of precip, which is, again, not sufficient for this these type of temperatures. So, yeah, not good news. But, again, hopefully during the winter, La Nina is usually favoring of extremely wet conditions across the northwest. They weren't as wet with the prior La Nina. This La Nina might be different and, bring even more precip across Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and, the southwest may get a bit missed out. They got a little bit of the monsoon activity, so at least that's good. So in the long term, it doesn't look completely bad. There could be some relief, but for the short term, it's a bit concerning for sure, to say the least. Canadian, another good model that I like to look at. The precip outlook is usually a bit less accurate, but notice it really holds the same. It shows a bit more for the plains. That's good news. A bit less for the northeast, a bit more for the southeast. And it does show a bit more scattered areas of green for the northwest, but that's, I mean, 2/10 of an inch. That's not even enough to make the first inch of soil wet. So, yeah, that's basically all I have for you folks today. Again, not trying to leave you with a bad mindset. It's all good. Just informing you folks with what may be coming, and at this point, it's pretty likely to come. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. Yeah.